All right, so let's go ahead and start this assembly. We're going to assemble our block 1 and block 2. The first thing you're going to do is when you're on the screen, you're going to click up here where it says assembly. So we're going to click on assembly. Once you click on assembly, it takes you to this screen. Up here, this should be right there. Oops, let me try that again. Up here, to start, much like any other thing in Inventor, your first step is going to be right up here in this top left corner. And the thing that should show there is place. If for some reason it doesn't show place and it shows one of these other options, you can always click on that down arrow and pick place. So we're ready to place. When you place, you have to go to where your file is saved. Remember, if you've done it correctly, that should be in your CAD 1 and 2 folder on your M drive. I had to go to my specific hour, but then it should be in the Inventor folder and Practice folder, and you are looking for block 2, which looks like this block right here. So block 2, and I'm going to open that. Now when you open it, notice you have it here on your fingers. If you just click on the screen, a normal click, a left click, it will place that block on the screen. If I keep clicking, it'll place a bunch more of those. I really don't want a bunch more of those, so I'm going to hit escape and cancel, and I'm going to undo all of those where I'm left with just that first block that I placed on there. So now that I have that first block placed on there, once again, if you haven't yet, hit escape to cancel out of that place command, and click and hold on the block where it highlights like mine is here, and notice you can move that block around. We don't want to move that block around. We want that block locked into place. We want it constrained into place. To constrain this block into place, we are actually just going to ground it into place, which means it's just locked right there and it can't be moved. To do that, when it's highlighted again here like this, I've clicked on it and highlighted it. If I right click and go down to the word grounded, and I'll ground that into place. It used to be, 3 or 4 versions of an Inventor ago, it used to automatically ground that first piece when you placed it in, and they stopped doing that. I don't know why, but we like that first piece grounded. So now, notice, if I click and hold on it, try to move it, it won't move, and it has a little icon of a thumbtack there. That's telling you that first piece is grounded, and that's the way it should be. All right, so now, next, let's place our next piece. So let's go place again. This time we're going to place block 1 and put block 1 in there. So there's my block 1. So block 1, not going to be grounded. You're going to move it around freely. Block 2 is locked into place. Now, what these two blocks are designed to do, these two blocks are designed to go together. Oh my goodness, but whoever designed this block, I don't know what that guy's name was, whoever designed this block did not make it so they fit together real well here. They're just not going to fit. We're going to go ahead and start doing some things called, again, constraining. We're going to constrain these blocks into place and put them in place here together, and then we're going to do some adjustments to make them so they fit a little bit better. So let's start by constraining this block to this slot. To do that, we're just going to hit C for constrain. When you hit C, this little window will come up. And let's look at all of our different constraints here. All right, so this first constraint is highlighted. This is called a mate constraint. Our first option of mate is the mate constraint. Mate with the mate option. If you take your 2 hands in front of you and clap your hands together, rub them, those 2 hands are mated together. They'll slide back and forth, but the faces of your hand are mated together if you clap your hands together. So that is a mate. Now, unfold your hands like you're unfolding a book, so they're flush, so the top surface of your hands are pointing straight up. That is a mate flush command, which you see here. So we have mate, and mate flush. For this one, we are going to use our default mate. I will tell you, 50% of the constraints you're probably going to do is going to be a mate. Another 30% is going to be a mate flush. And then all the rest of the time you'll use maybe some of these other constraints. But you're going to use this first one, mate option, and either a flush or a mate secondary option a vast majority of the time. So anyway, the way that this works is, again, I want to mate this. I could flip this over and point on the bottom side of it. It really doesn't matter on this piece if I flip it over. So I'm going to mate this surface. So I'm going to come up here and click on it. Notice that green arrow appears on it. So I'm going to click on that surface, it highlights it blue, and I'm going to mate it down to here. And when you do that, it clicks it down into place there. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And now that first constraint is there. I'm going to close that out, and let's see what that does. I'm going to hit escape to cancel out of my constraint, and I'm going to slide this around. Now, when you slide it around, you might think, well, I just pulled that up off the surface. It's not on the surface anymore. But actually, if you spin this around and look at it, it is still on the surface. It's just over there behind it. So no matter what I do to this block now, it's not going to move off the surface. It's locked to that surface. It's mated there. So you can spin it around, take a look at it, but no matter what you do, it's going to stay there. Remember, to get it back into a normal view, you're going to hit your F6, and it puts it back into that normal view. All right, so now next, we're going to do, this time we are going to do a flush constraint. So we're going to go C for constrain. We're going to do the mate option. This time we're going to do a flush option. So mate and flush option. I'm just going to flush these two ends of the object. So I'm going to click on this one, highlight it, and click on this one, highlight it. And I'm going to apply that. When you do that, I'm going to close out this window once again, and now we can see what we have. So now I have it locked in this position. So now it's mated down to the surface here. It's locked in the Y for me. Yours should be the same if you did it the same way as I did. It won't move up in the Y. And it's now also locked in the Z, that I can't move it that way in the Z. It's only sliding around the X-axis, back and forth on the X-axis. All right. So now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to twist this around a little bit. Actually, I'm not going to twist it first. First, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to go back to constrain. So I'm going to go C for constrain again. This time I'm going to do another mate. I'm going to mate this side of it. And I'm going to mate it to this side of the slot over here. But I have to spin this block around a little bit. So I'm going to hold Shift and my middle mouse button to spin that around a little bit. And I'm going to mate it to this surface right here. So again, notice where I'm at. I'm on this surface here. And before I picked on this surface here. The one that's highlighted blue. So there to there, mate that, and apply. I'm going to close that out, hit my F6, and see what I've got. So now, that block is locked into there. And it's locked in there good. It's not moving. When you constrain pieces and parts together in an assembly, you have to lock it in 3 different directions. You have to lock it in your X, your Y, and your Z. And those 3 constraints I just did do that. Now, however, if you look at this block, does this block fit here very well? The answer is no. Right here, these 2 blocks are overlapping each other. If you don't remember how wide this was, let's check that out now and see. The way that you're going to check that out is you're going to go M for measure. So I'm going to hit my M key, and I'm going to measure how wide this slot is. All right, so from here, that line right there, to that line right there, it is 1.52 inches. I'm surprised it's 1.52. I thought I made that 1.5. I wonder if I typoed when I drew this. Neither here nor there right now. All right, so that's 1.52. Let's measure this one from there to there, and that's 2 inches. So obviously, my 2-inch block is not going to fit in my 1.52 slot. Let's fix that so it does fit there. And, you know, this guy that designed it, I don't know who that guy was again, he made this block the correct width. It should have been 2 inches wide, but made a mistake when he made this, and it should have been wide enough to fit this block into it. So what we have to do is we have to go edit that block. I still happen to have my block 2 open right here. If you just finished your block 2, you probably do also. If you don't, just go up and open up block 2. So I'm going to go into block 2, and I'm going to look at block 2. Now what we have to remember about this block 2 is where we edited, or not edited, where we created this slot at. If we don't remember, come over here in your model, and let's take a look. Hover over this one, that's the extrusion 1, that's your whole big block. Hover over this extrusion 2, and notice that is where that slot is. It's part of extrusion 2. Now, if I just open up this portion of it, it's just going to open up how far I extruded that extrusion down. I need to edit the actual sketch of it. To edit the sketch of this, I'm going to hit my little plus sign here, and now I can see that sketch. I'm going to double click on the sketch, and that's going to open that up. And notice I did have that at 1.52. I didn't even realize I had that at 1.52. I'm now going to make that a slot that will allow my 2-inch block to fit into it. Now here we're going to get into a little bit of details here. If my slot is 2 inches wide, and I want this to be a loose fit to where it slides up and down through there, if I make my slot 2 inches wide, will a 2-inch block fit in a 2-inch wide slot? Well, the answer is no. It won't fit in there and won't fit loosely. You could press it in there with a press, and we have a mini-ton press over there in the shop that would do that, but you need to make it wider than what the actual is. We're going to add, let's say not much. We're going to add 3 thousandths. So we're going to make it 2.003 for this slot. That'll allow that block to fit in there nicely. If you've done this correctly, it should stay centered there by this little constraint that we have there that's centering that up. And we're going to go ahead and finish our sketch. Made that slot wider. We're going to go back to our assembly. And notice, it's still not fitting in there right. Well, the reason it's not fitting in there right, and I'm going to hit my F6, put it back into space there, is because my drawing's not updated. If I come right up here to where you see the sheet of paper and the lightning bolt, click on it, and notice how nicely that updated it. So there, that is fitting in there nicely. If I zoom in here, you're going to see there's a little, if I can get on it, there's a little tiny bit of a gap right there. That's my 3 thousandths of an inch gap. It is kind of hard to see there, but there's my little tiny bit of gap. And that's what we want there. All right. So I'm going to zoom back out, hit my F6, and let's look at this block a little bit more. All right. So now next, even though the block width of this block block 1 was correct, the length of it wasn't correct because it should fit all the way here to the end of this slot. And it doesn't. It's a little bit short. I don't remember how wide this block was, so again, let's measure. Now, you could measure from here to here, from that line to that line, or you could just click on this line here and measure it. So let's see how is it. That's 4 inches long. Now on this, we won't need a tolerance, but we will need to go into block 1 to edit it. So I'm just going to go up here and File and Open. Make sure I'm in my correct folder. I am in second hour folder. Open up block 1, and I have to edit block 1. What we have to remember about block 1 is where I actually set the length of this. And again, it was in the sketch of block 1. So I'm going to open up the little plus sign over here again. Double click on the sketch. And make that block 4 inches long. Again, we don't have to do any tolerances there. We just wanted the same length. So we're going to go 4 and finish your sketch. Go back to my assembly down here. And again, it doesn't look right, but if I come up here on the lightning bolt and click on the paper with a lightning bolt on it, it'll update that to the right length. And that's looking good there. Okay. The next little tidbit is, all right, this block, I want it to be the right height too. I want it to set flush here on the top. Again, I need to know how deep that is. I don't remember how deep it was, so I'm going to go M for measure. I'm going to come in here. Now, I don't want to measure that line. I want to measure this line. Now, it's not letting me select that line very good, so I'm just going to measure from that corner right there. Click. To that corner right there. Click. And let's see. That's a 0.5 inch long line. Remember, M is measure. So I measured that. That is 0.5. So what I need to do is I need to go back in, and I need to make this block 1 0.5 thick. So I'm going to go back to block 1 here. Whoops. I did not want to click on it like that. Let's try that again. Go back to block 1 here. Now on this, is it the extrusion or is it the sketch I want to modify? It's actually the extrusion. So I'm going to go extrusion, double click on the extrusion. It brings it in here where it's extruded 1 on both directions. I'm going to change that to 0.5 and go OK. Come back to my assembly down here at the bottom. Doesn't look right, but again, I'm going to come up here to my little paper with a lightning bolt on it and notice how good that is. And again, it didn't need any tolerances because it's just going to be the same surface and the same height as this one. So there it is. I'm going to hit F6, and that's beautiful. What you're going to do now is you're going to save this. So you're going to go File and Save. When you save it, make sure you save it to your practice folder for your CAD 1 and 2. Mine defaulted to 5th hour. I don't want 5th hour. I want 2nd hour. Practice folder. Oops, not that practice folder though. Inventor practice folder. Now, nothing's going to show up here because you don't have any assemblies yet. So name this block 1. Whoops, let's spell that correctly though, no caps. Block 1, 2, assembly. And click on Save. And go Yes to all. And OK. And that thing's saved beautifully. Good job and good luck.